Reflection for Quinquagesima Sunday.
Quinquagesima Sunday sits at the threshold of Lent, and the Church gives us readings today that search the heart in a very particular way. We hear St. Paul's great hymn to charity from his letter to the Corinthians, and we hear St. Luke's account of the blind man near Jericho who cried out to Jesus for mercy. These two passages placed side by side ask us a question we need to sit with as Lent approaches. Do we actually see clearly enough to love? The collect today begs God to receive our prayers favorably, acknowledging that without His help, we are simply unable to please Him. There is something beautifully honest in that admission. We come before God not as people who have already figured out how to be good, but as people who recognize that even our best efforts at love fall short without grace. Saint Augustine once said, "Give what you command and command what you will." That little prayer captures the spirit of today's liturgy. We are not pretending to have charity mastered. We are asking God to plant it in us like a seed and then to water it Himself. Paul tells the Corinthians that he could speak with the tongues of angels, give away everything he owns, even hand over his body to be burned, and without charity, it would profit him nothing. Now, we might hear that and think Paul is exaggerating to make a point, but the saints took him at his word. Saint Thérèse of Lisieux, who understood love as well as anyone ever has, wrote that she realized her vocation was to be love in the heart of the Church. She came to see that charity was the one thing that animated every other gift and calling. Without it, the whole body grows cold. What Paul describes in this passage is worth lingering over. Charity is patient and kind. It does not envy or boast. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Each one of those qualities costs something. Patience costs us our preference for control. Kindness costs us our self-protection. Bearing all things costs us the comfort of walking away when relationships become difficult. Paul is describing a love that stays present when everything in us wants to withdraw. And this is where the blind man in Luke's gospel becomes such a gift to us. He is sitting by the roadside near Jericho, and he hears that Jesus of Nazareth is passing by. He begins to shout, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." The crowd tells him to be quiet. They rebuke him. But Luke tells us he cried out all the more. There is a persistence in this man that comes from knowing exactly what he needs. He has no illusions about his condition. He is blind and he knows it, and he refuses to let anyone's disapproval keep him from the one person who can heal him. Jesus stops and asks him, "What do you want me to do for you?" And the man says simply, "Lord, let me receive my sight." Saint Gregory the Great reflected on this scene and observed that the blind man represents every soul that sits in the darkness of sin, and yet, by the grace of God, begins to cry out for light. Gregory emphasized that the crowd trying to silence him stands for all the distractions and discouragements that tell us our prayer is useless, our situation hopeless, our desire for holiness naive. The introit of today's Mass echoes this same cry. Be thou unto me a God, a protector, and a place of refuge to save me. The Church puts these words on our lips because she knows we need them. We are the blind man. We are sitting at the roadside of our ordinary lives, and Jesus is passing by. In the Eucharist, in the poor, in the quiet movements of grace throughout our day. The question is whether we will cry out. As Lent begins this week, the Church invites us to take Paul's words and the blind man's example into the desert together. We fast and pray and give alms not to earn God's love, but to clear away everything that keeps us from receiving it. St. Francis de Sales counseled his spiritual directees to begin Lent gently, reminding them that the measure of love is to love without measure. The disciplines of Lent are meant to train our hearts in exactly the kind of charity Paul describes: patient, kind, enduring, full of hope. So as we approach Ash Wednesday, let us ask for the blind man's honesty about our need, and let us ask for Paul's vision of what love actually looks like when it is lived out in the small, daily, unglamorous moments of our lives. The grace is there. Jesus has stopped on the road and turned toward us. He is asking us the same question. What do you want me to do for you? Let us not be afraid to answer.